Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. My name is Rafani Yehuda, and today I will be teaching on Erev Shabbat. I want to give all thanks to the Holy One, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the one who all praises are due. I next want to give all honor and respect to the leader and founder of Shema Israel, Chief Prince Sapor, and also to Prince Nathaniel, second in command, and Prince Nathaniel, Chief Nathaniel, Prince, Slicker, I'm sorry, the leader SOG, and also Maish Nasi Yashuvel. First, we're going to start by saying a prayer, and then we'll go into the lesson. Almost High, creator of all things and everything, come before you as your humble servant, the one who all praise is due, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We ask that you guard, shield, and protect us from all danger seen and unseen. I ask that you allow me to deliver this lesson with clarity and understanding better, so that someone, if not more than someone, can get the understanding of it. Please bless my words and allow them to not fall upon deaf ears. Please strengthen all your surrounding four corners of the earth. I ask a special blessing to be with the family that lost a loved one, and to guard, shield, and protect them through their their trials and tribulations. Please bless all your surrounding four corners of the earth. Hallelujah. Next, we will go into our the Shabbat readings. First, we're going to go into Psalm 92.
A song for the Shabbat day. It is a good thing to give thanks unto Elohim, to sing praise to thy name, O Most High, to declare thy loving kindness in the morning, and thy faithfulness in the night seasons. With an instrument of 10 strings, and with a psaltery, with a psalm sound upon their heart. For thou, Lord, hast made me glad through thy works. I will exult in thy works of thy hand. How great are thy works, O Lord! Thy thoughts are very deep. A brutish man knoweth not, neither does a fool understand this. When the wicked spring up his grass, when all their works actually do flourish, is that they shall be destroyed forever. But thou, O Lord, art on high forevermore. Lo, thy enemies, O Lord, lo, thy enemies shall perish. All the workers of iniquity shall be scattered. But my horn has I exalt like the horn of a wild ox. I am anointed with rich oil. My eyes are also glazed upon them that lie away from me. My ears have heard my desires of the evildoers that rise up against me. The righteous shall flourish like a palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Elohim. They shall be flourished in the courts of our God. They shall bring forth fruit in old age. They shall be full of sap and riches, declare that Elohim is upright, my rock, in whom there is no unrighteousness.
Hallelujah. Next, we will go to Proverbs 9. No, I'm sorry, Psalms.
A psalm of ascent. They that trust in Elohim are as Mount Zion, which cannot be removed, but abideth forever. As the mountains round about Jerusalem, so is Elohim is round about his people, for this time forth and forever. For the rod of wickedness shall not rest upon the lot of the righteous, that the righteous be put not forth their hands unto iniquity. Do good, Elohim, unto the good, and to them that are upright in their hearts. For such turn aside unto the crooked ways. Elohim will lead them away with the workers of iniquity. Peace be on Yisrael. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. And Deuteronomy 6.
Hear, O Israel, Elohim Our God, Elohim is one. And thou shalt love Elohim thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be upon thy heart. Thou shalt teach them diligently to thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in the house, when thou walkest by the way, when thou liest down, when thou risest up. And shalt bind them with a sign upon thy hand. They shall be frontlets between thy eyes, and thou shalt write them on the doorposts of thy house and upon thy gates. It shall be that when Elohim thy God bring you into the land which he swore unto your fathers, to Abraham, I to Abraham, Isaac, and to Jacob to give them great and goodly cities, which thou did not build, houses full of all good things which thou did not fill, and cisterns hewn out which thou did not hew, vineyards and olive trees which thou did not plant. They shall eat and be satisfied. Beware lest they forget Elohim, who brought forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. They shall fear Elohim thy God, and him shall they serve, and his name shall they swear. You shall not go after other gods, other people around about you. For a jealous God, even Elohim thy God, is in the midst of thee. Lest the anger of Elohim be kindled against thee, and destroy you from the face of the earth. Hallelujah.
Yeah. Um, okay, now I'm gonna go into I'm sorry, in Exodus 20.
And Elohim spoke all these words, saying, I am Elohim thy God, who brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make of thee a graven image, nor any manner of likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or is in earth beneath, or is at the waters underneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down to him, nor serve him. For I, the Lord, for I, Elohim, thy God, am a jealous God, visiting iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto the thousandth generation of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Elohim thy God in vain, for Elohim will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Shabbat day to keep it holy. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work, but the 7 days is Sabbath unto Elohim thy God. In it thou shalt do no manner of work, thou, nor thy sons, nor thy daughters, nor thy maidservant, nor thy manservant, nor thy cattle, nor the stranger that is within thy gates. For 6 days Elohim made the heaven, earth, all that, and rested on the 7th day. Wherefore Elohim blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which Elohim thy God give thee. Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt against thy neighbor, thou shalt not go to thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's wife, nor manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Hallelujah.
Yeah. Um, Today I'm talking about um, grief. It was something that I had on my heart for a minute to talk about, um, but it just came to me to really discuss it. Um, and then with the processing thought of what I wanted to um, discuss, I found out that someone else had passed away today, and um, I really just felt like maybe that was a sign. I really started to further do my research and really go over it because I know that a lot of people have been dealing with um, death, and it's something that it happens every day, and we never comes tomorrow. Um, if no one knows, or if you do may know, I've lost both my parents. Um, so this is something that I've been dealing with. My father, More, the late More Elazar, died 7 years ago. So I pretty much have been dealing with that, I guess, for about 7 years. Um, and well, I've dealt with it longer than that, but dealt with it close to home for the past 7 years. Um, and sometimes in dealing with it, um, we don't we don't actually deal with it. We push our feelings aside, um, and we try to quote unquote be strong, um, or just uh, not deal with it. We have all types of ways of people that people deal with it. And I just wanted to go into it a little bit deeper so that maybe this can help someone who's dealing with grief and not actually able to process it. Now, in my research, there is a difference between grief and bereavement. Grief is the physiological, emotional experience following a loss of any kind. Now, grief can be something as far as losing a job, losing a family member. It can be losing money. It's something that really emotionally and physiologically affect you. Whereas bereavement is a specific type of grief dealing with someone dying. Um, Sometimes we couple those together because they are kind of one and the same. But so I guess I am going to be talking more so about bereavement than just grief in general, but it will encompass grief as a whole because what I am talking about is still going to deal with losing because it can affect you in the same way sometimes. Now, when I was researching it, there's some doctors that say there's 7 steps of dealing with grief, and then there's some that say there's 5. Now I'm going to go over both because they are very similar. The first step of grief is shock or denial. Although we sometimes can foresee some things coming, we still have that shock of that factor happening, and we don't always deal with it the same. Then the next step is pain and guilt. We tend to internalize the loss of things as as something that we've done or something that we can identify it as something that something that is happening to us, and so that we tend to feel that guilt on our own and also feel the pain on our own. Even as far as losing a job, you may feel guilty, and most times when it's more so in a materialized situation, it is partially, usually, some form of guilt because you start to realize your mistakes and your things, and you internalize the things that you did wrong and how that may have caused the situation to become what it is. I want to go to Psalms 55:22, if you may. I'm sorry, that's Psalms 55:22.
Psalms chapter 55, verse 22. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Smoother than cream were the speeches of his mouth, but his heart was war. His words are softer than oil, yet they are a keen-edged sword.
Maybe it's a little. Go to try 23.
Cast thy burden into
Yes,
Elohim,
that's it.
and he will sustain thee. He will never suffer the righteous to be moved.
When I was looking to think about that, when we go through burdens, we sometimes we blame ourselves, and we also take all of it on ourselves. Sometimes we have to cast our burdens onto the Most High because He's the only one who can really truly mend our hurt and the pain that we have and the guilt that we have. And He's the only one who's going to bring us through that. Does that mean that we don't have to make changes? No. Does it mean that it doesn't hurt still? No. But what it does mean that once you giving that burden to the Most High and you make those changes to better yourself or better the situation, then He will He will allow it to be removed from you, the pain and the guilt. The next stage is anger and bargaining. Um, and sometimes these stages don't always go in these steps. And sometimes they don't actually, they can come in one day. Um, you may go from shock, pain to anger all in a matter of 5 minutes. Um, uh, would you read Psalms 34:17, please?
Psalms chapter 34, verse 17. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
The face of Elohim is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of the earth. They cried, and Elohim heard, and delivered them out of all their troubles.
Don't be afraid to cry out to the Most High. Crying out to the Most High doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make it doesn't make the situation any less harmful. It just lets the Most High know that you understand the situation. You know that He's the only one. Like I said again, and I'll say it again, that He's the only one that can heal the situation. And I know one of the things that people, or some of the things that people tend to focus on is one of the things is the pain will not go away faster if you ignore it. The way you deal with pain is not to ignore it, not to deal with it. Cry out to the Most High. He's there for you for that. He tells us plenty times, to come to Him. Don't be afraid to come to Him. Don't be afraid to talk to others. Not always, everybody hasn't dealt with your situation, but you don't know someone else's situation, and someone else's situation may help you. Don't be afraid to talk to other people. Don't bottle it in, because that hurt and that anger, it can consume you. It can take over your life, and it can make you into another person that's not what the Most High has designed for you. Don't be afraid to cry out to the Most High. Don't be afraid to cry to yourself. Crying doesn't make you weak, whether you're a man or a woman. I'm not saying you have to walk around crying, or telling your business to everyone. Don't be afraid to speak up, because sometimes when you hold that in, it festers and becomes a sore, and you don't want to have that callus upon you. The next stage of grief is depression. And depression doesn't mean that you lay in your bed every day under your covers and can't move and function. There's forms of depression, and it's not always something that is as simple as, oh, I hate myself, I'm depressed, I think that's not always depression. Depression is can be something little, where you just can't function. You just can't get out the bed, or you just can't do some of the things that you know that you love to do, but you can't do it because it hurts so bad. That's why calling out to the Most High, casting your burdens upon Him, allowing Him. One thing that my father used to always say is, when you give something to the Most High, stop taking it back. You have to give it to Him and allow Him to deal with it, because He can deal with it. Whatever you're dealing with, He can deal with it better than you can. Also, read Isaiah 41:10, please.
Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10. Fear thou not, for I am thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, uphold thee with thy victorious right hand.
Um, the Most High is telling you, He's gonna be your strength. He's gonna pull you out. He's gonna pull you through it. I know, sometimes we say things and we don't realize it. And like I know before my mother passed, I was like, I don't even know how I would deal with it, how I would go on. But I had to go on. I have children, I have family. I couldn't just stay there. I had to give it to the Most High and keep moving forward. Um, it's not always that easy. I'm not gonna minimize anybody's hurt or pain. Um, but what I can tell you is the Most High is there. Um, and also another thing they always say is moving on with your life doesn't mean you're forgetting about the loss. You don't have to stay where that happened at. We sometimes things in our life happen and we get so lost in that moment that we never change from that moment. It's like something happens to you and you never get past that moment. If it happened to you at 12, it's like you never got past 12. You may be 35 in actual time, but you're mentally or physically or even spiritually, you haven't passed that 12-year-old stage. You have to be able to move on and love yourself and keep it moving and going forward. That doesn't mean you forget about that person or the situation that happened. It just means that you have to strengthen yourself, and there's no way other way to do it besides through the Most High and Most High first. The next one is I'll put those two together. So upward turn and reconstruction. That is a hard one to do because sometimes you don't know how to reconstruct yourself. You don't want to go to from one extreme to another. When you're lost, you're down, then you want to just go out and just do everything that you never did, and you don't want to go to extreme, but you always want to keep the Most High near and dear to you. You always want to follow His statutes and His commandments because you know that He is the answer. I wanted to go to 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 18 through 23, if you may. That's 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 18 through 23.
2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 18. And it came to pass on the seventh day that the child died, and the servants of David feared to tell him that the child was dead. For they said, Behold, while the child was yet alive, we spoke unto him, and he hearkened not to our voice. How then shall we tell him that the child is dead, so he do himself some harm? But when David saw that his servants whispered together, David perceived that the child was dead. And David said unto the servants, Is the child dead? And they said, He is dead. Then David arose from the earth and washed and anointed himself and charged his apparel. And he came unto the house of Elohim and worshipped. And then he came into his house. And when he required, they set a bread before him, and he did eat. And thus said his servants unto him, What thing is this that thou hast done? Thou did not fast and weep for thy child while it was alive. But when the child was dead, thou didst rise and eat bread. And he said, While the child was yet alive, I fasted and wept, for I said, Who knoweth whether Elohim will not be gracious unto me, that the child may live? But now he is dead. Wherefore shall I fast? Can I bring him back again? Shall I go unto him? Shall I go to him, but he will not return to me?
Okay, so this one, when I read this, it really made me emotional because just to give you some background, David had had his first, he had just gotten Bathsheba pregnant, and it was right after he had found out. I mean, he had set up Uriah to get killed, and the child became ill. And when the child became ill, David fasted, and he wouldn't speak to anyone, and he wouldn't eat, and he wouldn't, well, fasting is not eating, but he wouldn't speak to anyone, and he rent his clothes, and he was in bad shape. And as soon as the child passed, they were scared to tell him because they didn't know what he would do to himself or to them, because there were situations where the king was so upset of dealing with the grief that they might have killed the messenger. So when he heard them whispering and he figured out what was going on, he asked them, "Is the child indeed dead?" And when he said yes, um, he he got up, cleaned himself up, and made a meal and ate. And they didn't understand that, but that was him dealing with the grief and in his set. And the last step is accepting and hope. He knew he accepted the situation. He knew that when the child was sick, there was hope that the child would come back and that the Most High would bless him with a healthy child. But once the child is dead, it was no longer a chance of accepting, no longer a chance of the child coming back. So he had to realize that he had to continue on with his life. Um, this story was, I guess, it was emotional because I was there with my mother, and right before she passed, and um, she, in her end, it wasn't until I kept telling her that we would be okay. And once I told her that we would be okay, um, it was like she was okay to leave us. And it wasn't until I said we would be okay that she was able to leave us. So um, sometimes it's that acceptance that helps you deal with it. And at some point, you have to accept the fact that the Most High called them. And for me, it was okay because um, she was no longer in pain. She was okay. And I thank the Most High for allowing her to no longer be in pain. Um, uh, Numbers 20, 28, and 29. Please read that. Numbers 20, chapter 20, verse 28 and 29.
And Moses stripped Aaron of his garments and put them upon Eleazar his son. And Aaron died there in the top of the mount. And Moses and Eleazar came down from the mount. And when all the congregation saw that Aaron was dead, they wept for Aaron 30 days, even all the house of Israel.
I brought that because they mourned for him for 30 days. Now, he was a leader in Israel, yes, but that everyone mourned for him for 30 days. It was, I just want to let you know there's no normal, quote unquote, normal timetable for grieving. You have to process it in your own time, in your own, and however's best for you. I just want to go over, well, I researched also some ways to deal with grief. And they gave 6 ways to deal with it. The first way is to acknowledge your pain. Don't feel like you have to hide your pain. It hurt. Number 2 was accept the grief. I'm sorry. It's accept that grief can trigger other emotions. That's crying. Don't feel like you don't have to cry. I know through I was talking to my children the other day, and they were saying, "Emma, you never cry," and I'm like, "Yes, I do. I cry." And they're like, "No, you don't." But I had to realize that sometimes I don't show them that side of me because I'm trying to be strong for them, and always have to be strong for them. Sometimes I have to show them that I do be emotional. You know, I am a human. I have emotions as well. Except that it can trigger. Step 3 is understanding the grieving process is unique to each person. I told you an example of some of the things that I went through, but my sisters, I talked to my sisters or my brothers, and their view of the whole situation totally different. That was my way of dealing with it. That was my my grieving process. Number 4 is seek out face-to-face support. I said earlier, although you go to the Most High, it's okay to and allow to them and to be human. It's okay that sometimes we get so caught up in being strong for everybody else or not want to be a burden on somebody. It's okay to read. It's okay um, to talk. There's support groups. I know that sometimes um, people say, "Oh, I won't go to this person or I won't go to that person. I'm not telling nobody my business." It's healthy to deal with the situation. We can't always think that the answer is just to hide it or bottle it up. It's going to spill out. It's just like I put in the cup. Eventually, the cup is going to overflow and it's going to spill. Just hold it in. You have to be able to deal with it. A big support, that doesn't mean that you have to go to everybody and tell them, oh, well, but it does mean that you have to be able to deal with the feelings and emotions that you're going through. Step is 5 is to support yourself emotionally by taking care of yourself physically. There's people who deal with it, like I said, again, differently. There's people who can't sleep. The things that's breaking you down. You can't break yourself you have to build yourself up. That grief or bereavement that is already tearing you down emotionally. So you have to fix yourself because if you don't, then you won't cease to exist. We A lot of women say when they stress I can't function, I can't sleep, I lose my hair. You can't at a level. Whatever you have to do, if you have to sing, if you have to take walks in the park, do that. Always put the Most High first. That's the one who's going to help you through it. But you yourself. And then the last is recognizing the difference in depression, grief, but you know, you don't have to be in a depressed state. You have to continue on and keep moving forward. Even if you don't have children, I know a lot of mine was because I had family and I had to continue on for my family and continue on for myself because I couldn't stay in that moment. I couldn't stay in that time, continue on and bettering myself physically, emotionally, and it's something that I have to continue doing daily. Um, One of the things that our family implemented was we pray together in the morning. So in the mornings we get up, we rise early, and we say prayers together. And this um, that helps a lot, because that bonds you together between. It's a bond between your family and the Most High. So it's a covering. Another thing Maish had told me about doing is reading a proverb each day, and you go according to the day. So today is the 26th. Is it? Yes. So today we would read Proverb 26, and then you continue doing that. That way you get wisdom every day. And I found myself kind of drifting away from that. So what I would do was sometimes, because sometimes I'm running around and ripping and running, I would put on the audio and I would let it play for me. So that way I didn't miss the wisdom that I could have got for that day. Because every time you read, you learn something new. You should learn something new, or learn something more, or learn something about yourself, or how can better yourself. Um, Torah is about betterment. It's always about betterment and healing. Um, can you read Deuteronomy 32:10?
Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 10. He found him in a desert land and in a waste, a hollowing wilderness. He compassed him about, and he cared for him. He kept him as the apple of his eyes, as the eagle that stirreth up her nest, hovering over her young, spreadeth abroad her wings, taketh them, beareth them on her pinions. And Elohim alone did lead him, and there was no strange God with him.
So this is how the Most High looks upon us. He takes us in and he made us his apple of his eye. So when you have that much, when the Most High has that much love for us and that much care for us, imagine he can do any. I mean, we're the apple of his eye. That is such a endearing way of describing someone. When you say the apple of their eye. Um, so don't think for a minute that he won't help you with anything that you ask if you're moving towards him with righteousness. Um, my last example I wanted to go over was Genesis 45:1.
Genesis chapter 45, verse 1. Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all of them that stood by him, and he cried, Cause every man to go out from me. Cause every man to go out from me. And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians heard, and the house of Pharaoh heard.
That instant was I brought that up because I thought about grief, and not always is it like he had realized at that point that he had lost his mother, and he didn't even know that before that. Had the opportunity to see his father after years. Um, and he also seen his brothers, although he knew that they put him in that situation, Most High's plan, but they they literally put him in the situation. Refrained from it, but he wanted the respect of not having to deal with it in front of others. So it's not always something that you have to deal with in front of everyone else. You can always go to yourself, but he dealt with the situation. He dealt with it. even as a child, when I used to hear that portion, it used to always make me so emotional because after seeing your brothers after that long and knowing that he still had love in his heart for them, he loved them, although they did what they did to him, he still loved them, and he was excited to see them, um, and he even did stuff. I mean, he still took care of them after that because he knew there was a Most High's plan, and that's what we have to remember at the end of the day. All things happen, um, all things that happen through the Most High. So it's Most High's plan for things to happen the way they do. Um, that is the end of my lesson. I hope that you all gained something from the lesson, and I hope that um, each day gets a little easier for those who are grieving. And um, I want to thank everybody who tuned in, and I want to thank Shema again for allowing me to um, give forth this lesson, and Maish for being there to support me. And I want to thank everybody, and I want to say Shabbat Shalom.